Questions?
John, it's obviously been kind of a wild few days for you, 5-6 days. How difficult has this been? And I guess in some ways, how nice has it been for you to come back home and finally get to kind of see some family in this time and everything?
Yeah, it's, you know, for all those who've gone through this, and I know many of us have, you know, it's my first time losing a parent, and it was just a whirlwind at first, just because you got on the plane, you had to go practice, and you didn't think, you know, you're in practice, you're not thinking about it, and then as soon as you walk off, you are, and you're prepping, and, you know, Lisa went with me on the Houston portion of the trip, and when it was really, for me, it was really, really emotional after the Houston game. I mean, I didn't even really make it to the locker room, and so our guys were awesome, just being around those guys, like extended family. What made it really tough was having to add another 2 or 3 days to the road trip. And so yesterday was great. I didn't come in the office yesterday. We had to do arrangements all day. And, you know, I've got family. I've got my wife, my kids, and then my brother and my mom who needed me. So, you know, I tried to come back to them and spend most of the day with them yesterday. Because I hadn't seen them before. I hadn't seen them since I walked out of the hospice room. So it was good to get back. It was good. It was refreshing. It was, you know, I'm in a better place right now, I think, and you know, really excited about, you know, focusing on what we have to do this week.
When you're going through something like that, you know, obviously it's not all wins and losses, but the win on Tuesday, and obviously there was emotion afterwards. Was that extra meaningful to have a win in the midst of what's been kind of a wild week?
Well, we had to get it. We had to have a win. So, I mean, I think, you know, we've got to do our job. That's what my dad would always say, do your job. And, you know, down 13 with 13:01, I think it was what my wife said that they were all watching the game together, and they kind of got pissed off at my dad a little bit. You know, like, hey, show up here, help out a little bit. But, you know, we started playing better. So I don't know how to really answer that. I just know that our guys really came through in the second half and did the things we needed to do, and I didn't think we did that for most part of that game. So it's probably not answer your question, but I'm not sure how to answer it.
Kind of a unique situation when you come in and have two seniors like Trey and Jaron, one who's player of the year, another one coming into his 5th year, guys who had played a lot. How did you approach that situation entering into it? Like,
Beginning of this year.
Yeah, starting the year as a
Beginning of
coach
the season.
of those two guys specifically, yeah.
Well, I think, you know, it's a very unique situation, and I mentioned this before. You know, I've had many of my guys that I, you know, rely on, and some of the really, really, you know, successful coaches saying, you've got an interesting task in front of you this year in terms of, you know, having a veteran group who knows how to do certain things really, 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 really well, and then you're going to come into it completely differently. And so there was, you know, a lot of conversations, a lot of talk. You know, I had to acquiesce. They probably had to acquiesce. You gotta let me know if I'm using that term right. And then, you know, I think we've kind of found some middle ground as the season went on, and understanding of how to utilize those guys best. So.
You talked early on about wanting to, I don't know, honor, make it worth it for those guys to come back, that you didn't want to just only look ahead, you know, down the road. Why was that such a big deal to you?
Well, because I thought those guys had given so much to this university in terms of their commitment level and the winning that they've done. I mean, 2 of the winningest guys of all time. And, you know, Keith Williams has done the same thing. So I felt like those guys deserved our best for this year. And I think, you know, I was my senior year, Billy Donovan left and went to Florida. So I know what it felt like for the coach to come in. And, you know, when the new coach comes in, it's like year one's year one. It's like their legacy is built on what are the future years and how they produce and the teams they put on the court. And, you know, Billy could have, when Billy left, Greg White took over, and he could have done that. But instead, he really focused on that senior year and helped us, you know, win a regular season title. And I want to do the same for this group. So it really resonated for me when I was a senior.
You had any kind of a refuge release, whatever you want to call it, since Saturday morning, and what would it have been?
Doc, I haven't. The only thing that I did out of the ordinary was I walked USF's campus. We had a hotel, and on the morning of the game, I never get out of the hotel. And I walked their campus for some reason on Saturday morning.
Just to kind of clear your head, get
Yeah.
your head straight? What?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I mean, you sit in front of the computer watching tape all the time, and then you get a text. You got a lot of text, which is great, and then it takes you back a little bit, takes you where you're currently at. And So I think that really helped out a little bit. It's the first time I've ever really done that. So I guess if there was a release, that would be what it is.
Weather probably helped with that too.
It did, yeah. In fact, I go outside in shorts, no question. Good point.
It's a good campus, nice.
The side I was on was, I didn't walk around, I didn't walk along.
Jump to the other seniors, Javen and Chris, that's a little bit different. They have to put a certain amount of trust in you coming into a new program, but also just kind of one that's a new coaching staff. What did you tell them to convince them that that would be the right decision?
Those guys want to play in the NCAA tournament. You know, I mean, Javen played against me for 4 years and really wanted to go to the NCAA tournament. You know, Chris, you're selling going to the NCAA tournament, so we still haven't accomplished that yet, so that's something we still have to work to accomplish for those guys. That was the big sell. Man.
Senior night can be pretty emotional for your players. How do you manage that and keep them focused on the task at hand, especially when you're playing Temple that night?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I've even looked at maybe doing senior nights after the game's over, just to take away that emotion piece, because it really is emotional. And, you know, the thing that I'll tell the guys, I haven't had this conversation with them yet, you know, emotion fades. So you'll be emotional and you'll have great emotion. One of them, that fades. Passion sustains. So you got to sustain your passion for what you're doing and, you know, for what we have to get done and understand what we have to get done. And you have to take that emotion out of it. And we're going to have to talk about that today. We're going to have to talk about that a lot leading into Saturday, because you're dealing with two of the seniors who, you know, they're crowd favorites and, you know, they put a lot into this institution. And, you know, they got to understand that the best way to honor you on senior night is to go out and win it. And that's the piece that I got to get across.
There's always a lot of talk about seniors playing with urgency, but have you ever seen anything like what Trey's done over the past 6 weeks, where he went from really good to unbelievable in just the flip of a switch?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's that's why they always say, you know, the teams that can really advance and have success have to have great seniors, and Trey's embodies that. But I go back to, I'm not surprised by it. People are like, why not? Just because of his consistency. His consistency is there every day. I mean, he works. He deserves the success he has.
Jaren's kind of in that player of the year conversation because he got the preseason one last year and then the way he's really played in conference play. But Trey seems to have kind of played himself at least into that conversation too. Is that, I know you have to vote on that stuff. Do you talk to guys about that? Do you
I
care
can't
about
vote on my own guys. I don't think I could in all the other leagues. So.
But do you care about that stuff at all?
Well, I mean, I do, because I think I want those guys to give acknowledgement. I mean, I think they're both player of the year candidates. You know, I put them right at the top of anything. So, you know, I'd probably put Trey at the top of defense as well. So, yeah, I want those guys to receive what they deserve because they put so much into this season. They've had outstanding years. And we don't talk about it, and they don't talk about it because that's not their makeup. But it's an honor that I'd like for them to hope to achieve.
I know not much time has passed since Tuesday night. Have you had a chance to evaluate Jaren and kind of see where he is for Saturday's game?
No, it's the lucky part. I don't get to evaluate the physical stuff. I don't get to make those decisions. Like I always say, I'll meet these guys after this. We'll find out. But I mean, I'd be surprised. You know, I don't know. I don't practice. You got to be careful with it. So we got a limited amount of bodies right now.
Is the hope that is there still a chance that he could play on Saturday?
I have no idea. We haven't been updated at all on it.
You've had a couple games now where you get down double digits in the second half and you've come back and won a few of them. What goes through your mind in that moment where there's 13, 14 minutes left and you're facing a big deficit? What are you thinking in the moment?
Which game?
Any of them.
I mean, they're all different, you know. This past game, I was thinking, okay, you know, I think I said this on my radio show. This is how we go about, let's say, getting stops or offense. We'll say defensively. It's, if we're not getting it done, let's go harder. We weren't going harder. It wasn't happening. So we don't get it done initially. Let's go harder where we weren't going harder. Let's sub. Look down the bench. There's really nobody to sub. Let's change the scheme. Well, we changed the scheme about 3 different times. So finally, I'd run out of the coaching 101. I'd run out of all 4 of those. So I looked at the guys at 13-minute timeout. I'm like, you have to figure something out here because I don't have anything left for you right now. You're going to have to make a decision. And in that moment, I think they made a decision. We got back into the press, and they started making plays. But I don't want to rely on that. I think this team is occasionally rely on it. I don't. You know, this team doesn't compete every possession, and it's one of the things that I really struggle with. Because I don't. That doesn't happen with my teams. So we need to learn to compete every possession, and we're not doing that on a consistent basis, and particularly on the defensive side.
In those moments, are you always thinking like the game, or do you ever say or let yourself think like, if you want to go to the tournament, we have to win this?
Well, they understand that. I mean, we kind of talked a little bit about that before the game, but in the moment, you got to take care of what's in the moment. So.
John, if you do have to go without Jaron, what did you see out of this team? Obviously, a lot on Tuesday night.
Well, I've seen it throughout the year. I mean, we haven't had Jaron. I mean, Jaron hasn't practiced a lot most of the year, so we practice a lot without him. And then in games, you know, he missed it for, I think, second at Vermont maybe, missed several full games. You know, and so I think that helped us for Tuesday because we have such a balanced scoring attack. I mean, and we didn't have an All-American in my mind, and we scored 79 points, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure you do that in the past or early in the season. I think it's something that guys have grown accustomed to understanding their roles, despite the fact that he may not be out there.
You talked about he's missed a lot of practice. I mean, we've kind of known he's been banged up. We've seen it. Has he been, I guess, maybe a lot more banged up and dealing with a lot more than maybe even the outside world knows?
Well, I have no idea what the outside world knows, but I know it's really hard to play the game of basketball when your feet hurt, you know, consistently. And you know, I think it's obvious when he really feels well. You know, he plays really well. So I just, you know, when we met at the hotel, I said, I just want you to be healthy. That's all I want. So it was, you know, I just want him to play healthy. And you know, I think you know, when he does, he's as good as anybody in the country.
You mentioned that the guys don't compete on every possession defensively. Do you have a sense of why that's been such an ongoing issue for this team this year?
I do.
It's just something that you're just dealing with.
I am.
Is your offensive success maybe partly to blame for maybe taking some defensive?
The guys have mentioned that in passing a few times, the feeling that they can score whenever we want to, whenever we need to. I'm not completely buying into that, but it's been mentioned.
Anything else?
Yeah, did those 4 days between Saturday morning and Tuesday night tell you anything about yourself?
I think the biggest thing it told me is how reliant I was on my dad and how, you know, he kind of, you know, my wife texted me a text that said, you know, your dad's always taught you how to do hard, you know, and I think that was probably the biggest thing I learned is just some of the things that he taught me throughout the years and, you know, made me go to the coach if it was about playing time or stuff, I had to go do it. He never intervened on anything. And it was like, you know, almost like your parents preparing you for a moment, like he was preparing, hey, I'm not gonna be here forever. It's probably what I learned the most, how to get through hard a little bit without him there to help.
Is there any, do you remember any words of advice, wisdom that he might have given you that you're leaning on right now?
He would always tell me the cream always rises to the top. And he said, just, you know, and I share this with the guys, he would always tell me, and I've taken it into my ranks now, but he told me as a player, he would always say, the only person that can stop you from being successful is yourself. No referee, maybe that's why I don't get on the refs, no referee, no opposing team. You know, if you have a bad game, it's because of you, nobody else can stop you. And I've kind of used that for our guys. This is some advice that I give the guys. It really doesn't matter what the outside sources are or whatever hits you, it's up to you to make it work. And that's probably over the next 4 days, you know, we had to figure out how to make it work. And so we put everything in we could into South Florida.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.